Alrighty, folks. Let's go ahead over to the couch and kick off another episode here of Rob's Arcade. Um, Thanks so much for tuning in here. We got a pretty cool follow up episode to some recordings. I guess I did over the weekend. Um, so make sure you're a subscriber if you're a new time or first time offender, newcomer to the show. Make sure you subscribe. Go back and catch out some of the stuff we did this weekend. But yeah, we're just kind of catching up here in April, hanging out here in my arcade. If this is your first time here, something we typically do, I'll share some different testimonials from time to time and video game footage. And this is a great way to blend some video game highlights and video game stuff I like to do, as well as do like a little type of a talk show for you guys. It is, Monday, the 6th of April, day after Easter. Hence the attire here, kind of dressed up a little bit with a creepy little Easter mask on. I've actually kind of enjoyed wearing this, causing mayhem and going out and handling gangsters. Actually went out to a construction site and shot up a bunch of gangsters dressed like this. I was like, this is actually, man, this would be a crazy scene in a movie, like having some crazy John Wick dude running around, headshotting everybody dressed up as a freaking Easter bunny in a sports jacket or whatever the hell I got on. But yeah, hopefully had a good Easter. My Easter Sunday was great. Literally unplugged and did pretty much nothing. Got some game time in. Jumped back into some retro rewind weekends. God, that's so hard to say. I don't know why I came up with that title. But we jumped back into some retro rewind with some Marvel madness, if you will, some Marvel games, which was great. That was like a blast from the past, jumping into X-Men games on Easter weekend. I shared a story, very reminiscent of Easter weekend back in 1993 when my dad got me the X-Men game for Sega Genesis, and man, that was a great weekend. So it was kind of fun jumping back into some retro gaming and kind of like celebrating that old. I don't want to really call it a tradition because it's not something I do every year. I might make it a tradition though. I think there's something I mentioned before, like there's a definite play on words with like Marvel's X-Men, Easter eggs, like that excitement extreme. So I don't know. That might become a new thing going forward in the future. There, just kind of hang out on Easter weekend and play maybe like a new X-Men game every Easter. That'd be pretty dope. Like every Easter celebrated with like a new X-Men title somehow. Because even I played the X-Men arcade game before. I feel like that was definitely the first time experiencing that in my house, and definitely the first time doing like a complete like run through of the game. So that was really awesome. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys had a great Easter. Like I said, let me know what what you guys did. If you did anything exciting, if you just did your traditional like Easter family plans and what have you. Um, Something else I like to do every Easter is watch Critters 2. Um, that's not something I've always done. Definitely not a tradition as well. But something I've enjoyed doing the last few years is kind of kicking back, watching kind of like those offbeat kind of holiday movies. Things like Bill and Ted, the sequel, the Bogus Journey. There's some great Easter humor in there. Not very much, just like a quick couple of scenes with some fun Easter stuff in there. Deacon's, you stole Deacon's Easter basket or something like that. The Easter Bunny's like chasing down uh, Ted um, and some kind of weird hell nightmare. And then you have the cool scene in Critters 2 uh, where the Easter Bunny is attacked by the Critters' eggs. There's like a whole Easter celebration in Grover's Bend, and somebody sells the critter eggs as like exotic European eggs, and there's like kids painting them for Easter. It's pretty cool. I enjoy watching that one, and I don't know. I feel like any of the Aliens movies, like the alien eggs, even Jurassic Park, I think would be a fun movie to watch on Easter, just again because like you got the giant egg references everywhere and stuff like that. But yeah, we watched Critters 2. Had some had some ham, macaroni and cheese, your typical kind of like holiday dinner for Easter and all. But yeah, all in all, it was a great day. And then I just kind of hopped back on the sticks after a little while, and like I said, got some more game time in with some Marvel's Comics Invasion. Uh, Something else I kind of talked about too, which I'll make this announcement here on this episode as well, is that going I think forward in 26, I got some cool little like challenges and goals kind of set for myself as far as my nerdisms go, and along with like reading some comics before the Spider-Man movie comes out, some other things. I want to do like a complete extermination of Marvel games, if you will. Like I've got a pretty vast list of Marvel games. Um, I beat the original Spider-Man for PlayStation, but I did reacquire the PS5 version. I never finished the Miles Morales game. I don't think I ever completed. Well, I know I never completed the Guardians game. There's a plethora of titles on uh, the Maximum collection. You got the new fighting game coming out. There's a Wolverine game on the way. Spider-Man 3 was announced. So I don't know. There's some titles coming out in 2026, as well as some titles that are already have. And I thought like, yeah, maybe spend 2026 knocking these titles out could be kind of fun and a good challenge and a good way to kind of like actually come up with a system, if you will, like of knocking out some of these titles. I've got like so many games that I haven't beaten, and one of my things has been like, oh, sure, I probably shouldn't acquire any more games before I haven't beat the ones that I have now, and um, I feel like I just keep acquiring new games without beating the ones I have, and it's like, where do you start at a certain point? So I don't know. I feel like this will kind of give me a good direction, and like, you know, maybe once I knock out all my Marvel games, I can kind of move on to like, well, maybe I should knock out all my side scrollers, and maybe kind of do it by some kind of genre. Like I said, just to kind of give me some direction. But I think that'll be a lot of fun. Um, and I got my comic book run of all my Spider-Man comics before the new movie comes out, which should be really really cool. And today I had a really fun experience. Speaking of like comics and video games and stuff, I met up with a friend of mine from work, and we just kind of hung out in our lobby and talked about comics for about an hour or so. And I think we're gonna start doing this like maybe every Monday or so. Um, if maybe redirect if we have to, but the idea will be, um, just get together once a week. I thought about maybe once a month. But after this first one, it was like, let's meet again next week. And I was like, dude, are you sure? Like, I don't want to, you know, take up too much of your day. And he's like, no, dude, this is perfect. You're off, I'm off. Like, let's do this. And so, um, we're looking like, every Monday, to get together for about an hour or so and just kind of hang out and talk about comics and video games and memories and things like that. And I think that was the coolest piece, was like actually being able to like kick back and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, like, oh, I remember this and I remember that, and sharing experiences of our childhood as well, because like we're about the same age, and so we grew up with a lot of the same stuff, and we're both these old guys who are still into a lot of the comics and the nerdy things, and it was just a really really fun conversation. So it was a lot of cool stuff about current topics and current things going on. But then every now and again we would just kind of like take a dive down memory lane and talk about like a cartoon or a video game or something or a Sega CD, and it was just it was a lot of fun. Got to come up with a name for the club, and we might even start. I actually recorded the conversation, and we might actually even start. Um, I mean, I don't know. I might start posting these on my channel. Actually, let me see if I can find some of it. I'll actually play some of it here real quick here. People remember it too, like, well, there's that whole USA. I don't know if this will pick up at all. Of like cartoons. That was fantastic. Right. And Captain Caveman was probably the crown jewel of that, because they had like the dude in like the car. Mm-hmm.
But also when he wore the white suit with the black mask, wasn't that part of the USA's lineup too?
White suit with the black mask.
I can see him now. That wasn't Captain Marvel.
Yeah, look that up.
I'm telling you, Robert, he was cool.
But I do remember, like, of course, I mean, here I am, like, 30-some years later, still remembering. Yeah. Like, I mean, that was, like, just a crazy deep cut. What I was thinking of, too, was the song, what is it, Jim, Big Jim. It's like, don't tug on Superman's cape. It's like probably one of the most original songs to feature a superhero in.
Yeah, but when we were talking like that, though, that was actually like, it was a takeoff of Don't Mess with Big Jim. No.
That's the whole deal. Yeah. Don't mess with Big Jim.
Don't pull Superman's cape.
You don't spit in the wind. You don't pull the mask off the Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim.
Oh my God.
But I was thinking it's probably one of the first times you hear a reference to a superhero.
Yes.
Probably in like a rock song. That's probably pretty early. Like, I mean, nowadays we have like so many, like, we talked about what the other day, Eminem has basically done like all the Venom music for the soundtracks. So now it's like pretty common to have like a superhero song, for Spider-Man to have a song. But back then, to get a reference for Superman, I can imagine being like a nerd back then in the 60s or something, or the 70s, and that song comes on the radio, and you're like, oh, Superman, like, that didn't probably happen.
Oh my gosh, the USA Network was so
Is it showing?
It's not showing it yet.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there we go. So, excuse me. Like I said, just like cool conversations. We started off talking about, superheroes and comics that like kind of influence music. We talked about different video games. It was kind of tough. We would start talking about something, and then both of us would find ourselves like thinking of, oh, well, this reminds me of this, and then like, did I ever tell you the story of like Creepshow and how I got into comics? And then he would be like, oh, like let me talk about this character, and like I don't mean to cut you off, but this reminds me of that. And so it was just a lot of fun, and I could see this being an ongoing show, or like, I don't know, something I could do on my YouTube, just because there is so much to talk about. I remember at one point I was talking about like Creepshow in the comic and the horror movies and stuff, and then that just led us to talking about Freddy and Jason, and I'm like, oh no, dude, we gotta get back onto the path of like the comics and stuff, because like otherwise, I mean, like, I could literally just sit here all day and talk about like, horror movies and stuff, and we need to get back to like our main conversation, which the main conversation was who had the best like covers of the 90s. At first it was kind of like one of those like, oh man, it's kind of a close debate. Like, excuse me, DC was who he was thinking had some of the best covers, and I started thinking about maybe more like maybe well, I think maybe Image really was who I was thinking at first, um, and then I started looking at my stuff. I'm like, no, I think it was really Marvel. So I brought in some things after going through a few boxes. I only went through like two or three boxes and found like a stack of just like all these different books that um, Marvel put out in the 90s that were like either some kind of weird raised cover or like a foil or a foil raised or just something crazy. And he was like, "Yeah, no, I think you're right." And he brought us some cool DC covers. A lot of the DC covers he was thinking of were more current, I think. And then again, like that just lets us talking about like current covers and the variants and it was really fun. So I feel like each episode, if we want to like really do this or each meeting, we're going to really have to kind of stick to topic, and then like take notes and save topics for other meetings, and maybe even like I said, we kind of did a dive into horror movies and stuff, and like you know maybe try to save some of that for when Halloween gets close. Like all of Halloween can be just different conversations on horror comics and horror movies and all of those things. But it was wild. It was tough. Like I said, we started off talking about like superhero music and stuff, and like I think Mortal Kombat theme song popped up, the Captain Caveman song popped up, um, just a lot of other things that weren't necessarily superheroes, but like fun songs and just things that just made us think of. Oh, he mentioned the Space Jam soundtrack, the original, not the new garbage, but the original with that. The soundtrack to the original was amazing, and it had that really great collaboration with like it was like Method Man, Be Real. I think maybe like LL Cool J was on there. It was several different artists, and I was like, oh, dude, no, that's a great song. But I started thinking still, I was like, well, I don't know if I would consider it a like even a superhero or like even like I mean, we talked about Captain Caveman, and like is he really a superhero or kind of he wears like a cape, and he's like Captain America, um, and so we were kind of like, yeah, he kind of is. Um, and then Busta Rhymes, Coolio, LL Cool J, and Method Man. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, even though it's not like a superhero song or off of like anything that's like inspired by superheroes or whatever, the song itself, I was like, dude, I was like, that's a great song. And I was like, even though it's not a superhero like movie or like inspired by a comic book, it's just like a Space Jam. It's just like more of like a Looney Tunes thing. And like basketball, I was like the song itself and the artist, I was like, that is like an Avengers like assembly, like that's like a Justice League roster of rappers, and like each one kind of comes in and like flexes their superpower much like it would in a comic book, um, kind of like Iron Man would fly in and like boom hit his pulsar rays, and then Thor's going to come in and like slam his hammer and do the lightning thing, and then you might have like Giant Man all of a sudden come in and like grow and put his foot down and blow something up and stomp on this, and then the Hulk swings in real fast and smashes a few things and then bounces out. And it was like that was like the song, it was like you would have like LL Cool J pop in and then drop his thing, and then all of a sudden Method Man kind of comes in and hits you with his pulsar rays, and then he flies off, and then B Real's gonna like slash in like Wolverine or whatever. And so it really was like this really cool comic booky kind of song, and it was all like something we discovered and just having these really fun conversations about like just comics and he brought a few books in, and I brought a few books in, and it was really fun. It was really nice. After I said yesterday, didn't really do anything at all. This morning, tried to like knock a few things out for work, and then was able to kind of like go and have some of this like chill one-on-one time with a a friend from work, and it's really cool. Like I've really gotten to excuse me, enjoy bringing my books and things to work. It's been a new um, like idea I've been trying out. In fact, uh, um, one of the more recent uh, like experiences I've had at my job that I've really enjoyed is speaking to this gentleman who's he's like a father, like a priest, and all of that, and he's very much into Spider-Man now because of some of the conversations we've had about like morality and um, even like just moral obligations and your compass and all of that, and how it's you know true in the Bible and it's true in Spider-Man and true in Superman, no matter kind of like what, just kind of depends on I guess what you take from those stories. And he's really gotten into it, and so it's been fun like discussing Spider-Man with him. And I decided like, well, hey, I'll bring some books in, let him check those out. And then as I brought those books in, more people have gotten into it. And they're like, oh, what is that? And what is, I had a guy the other day, is like in his 60s, like late 60s, early 70s maybe. And I'm on the phone trying to get this account set up with like his health care and everything. And as I'm doing that, he notices these comics I have on my desk, and he's like looking at them upside down. And so I'm literally on the phone with the phone on my shoulder and like taking my comics and like turning them around and like spreading them out like one by one so he can see them. And it was like these cool Silver Surfer covers and stuff. And he was just like, wow. And he's trying to talk to me, and he's like, those are really cool. And he's like whispering and kind of like mouthing and like, what is this? And I'm on the phone with yeah, like this giving out these numbers and like trying to get his account set up and everything. And then I got the phone and I was like, yeah, it's like I brought those in to show somebody else, but I'm glad you liked them. But then I realized I was like, man, I should just bring these in for like coworkers and stuff to check out. But like really anybody who wants to check these out, um, you know, if hold on a second. Um, oh shit, was I saying? I was actually just texting him right now. Let me see. Um, but oh yeah, Father Bill has been really into these books and these Spider-Man stories and all of these things, and sharing them has led to me sharing them with other people. And now it's like we're doing like a club and having these discussions and everything. And so it's just really cool um, to share these and put them out there. Uh, let me see here. Oh, Space Ghosts. I was just watching that yesterday. Hold on a second here. All right, yeah, sorry. We're trying to figure out. We're like talking about like a character. He was like he wears white and he had like a black mask. And I'm like, I can't remember who you're talking about. It's like, oh, Space Ghost, duh. Um, but yeah, anyway, it's just been cool, man. It's like I'm excited to bring new books to work tomorrow and share those with people, um, and and just see what their reactions are. I'm excited to get more people involved in this club. It's going to be an actual like a book club. I'm thinking at some point, maybe even that's my alarm telling me it's time to wrap this up. Um, if a few people get involved, maybe actually getting us all the same like graphic novel or something to read, so we can kind of all share that together and kind of like you know not only have discussions on like our favorite characters or how we got into comics or just different like little topic pieces, but then actually maybe read some of the same material and some of the same books, and just offer our different takes on it and our perspectives and insight and and all of that. So kind of like, oh, did you get this when you read this piece? Did you realize they were talking about this, that, and the other? And I think it'd be really cool. So I don't know. Maybe look forward to seeing some of that. Like I said, I recorded our conversation today, and it almost sounded like a show. You heard like a little bit of that, but that went on for about an hour. Um, so, at any rate, it's been really cool just kind of hanging out, talking about comics all day, and hanging out here with you guys and just catching up. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this little episode here, and you enjoy further episodes. Pull out the microphone. Is my jaw still moving? I can't tell if I. Oh, there we go. Um, Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you don't miss anything coming up. Um, Leave a comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other. And until next time, don't spend the quarter anywhere else. See you guys later.